that will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Have a seat in the chair, make yourself comfortable. Pull up to that microphone. Mr. Taylor, do you wish to question him?
State your name for the record, please.
Maurice Baker.
And what is your relationship to the young man who was murdered, Maurice?
This is my son.
And would you like to tell the court how this has affected you?
It affected me in so many ways, kind of hard for me to explain. Especially due to the fact, ever since my son was born, I begged Tiffany for my son on so many different occasions because of drug use, the prostitution that she did, and the other ways she had him in a harmful situation. I didn't just lose Maurice November the 8th. I lost my son really the day he was born, because ever since he was born, she held my son over my head. I begged her so many times to keep him out of harmful situations. Yeah, I cursed her. I threatened her. I did a lot. But only on behalf of my son. I begged her. She knew it. It's simple drug abuse. It's manipulation. I called around. There's not nobody in this courtroom I haven't called and talked from my family to her family that haven't heard about me asking for my son and wondering what was going on with him. She kept him from me for a year straight. So many birthdays he missed. I have a party planned. She never let him come. I begged her. The last message, the last time I texted her, I asked her, please, can I just talk to my son? She ignored me. I reached every day I reached out to her that I couldn't see my son. I'm asked that the court give her the maximum punishment. I'll never see my son again. Jaden's family will never see them again. Anything less than the maximum punishment for her doing this to them will be unjust. They don't have a second chance. She chose to take drugs, put them in that situation. It was people begging for those kids, not just me as a father. It's aunties, cousins, her family members. Of course she had a breakdown. Methamphetamine does that. Opiates does that. You took the choice to do those drugs. I've been in prison before. I took for the consequence. Choices I've made, I suffer consequences. She needs consequences. She's always been able to manipulate. I want the judge to see her for what she is. She's a monster. I got phone records and I have a phone with me begging her to see my son. It wasn't a time that she couldn't have dropped my son off and gave him to me. She could have called me. I don't want her to be able to manipulate once again. You know what you are. I'm pretty sure if it's phone conversation for the jail, they know what you are. You chose to prostitute. You chose to do drugs. You hallucinated and killed them boys for no reason. Those two good kids. You don't deserve public defenders. You don't deserve sheriffs around you. That's all I got to say.
Any questions, Mr.
No,
Taylor?
Your Honor.
Any questions from the defense?
Briefly,
Hold on,
Your Honor.
Hold on, sir.
Mr. Baker? Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Don't push the button. There you go.
I am truly sorry for your loss, and do need to ask some follow-up questions about some things that you just testified to.
Yeah.
As part of this case, we received discovery from the Commonwealth. They took the contents of Tiffany's phone, in which there were text messages and screenshots of text messages. You testified that you had previously threatened Tiffany, correct?
Yep.
Do you recall sending the following text message? Bitch, I'm gonna kill your son, fuck you. You think shit's a game like you forgot who I am. I'm Reese, bitch, and if you think I was fucked up to you before, just imagine what I'm gonna do now since I can't see my son. I'm rich, you broke-ass loser bitch. You will never see your kids again.
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
I have a hope. Tiffany has a good way to manipulate. You being her lawyer, I can see you
Your Honor.
sending the text
Hold
message.
on, Mr. Baker. Hold on 1 second. Yes, sir.
I believe that's outside the scope of questions.
Mr. Taylor, any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Baker, thank you very much, sir. If you would, please have a seat back in the courtroom where you were seated. Just walk in front of the podium here and around on this side, over here. Thank you. All right, does the defense wish to call any witnesses in response to that testimony?
No, Your Honor.
All right, is there anything else in closing then from the defense?
Nothing further.
Commonwealth's closing, Mr. Taylor.
Yes. Your Honor, here are the uncontroverted facts. On November 8th, 2023, Tiffany Lucas committed an unspeakably brutal crime. The lives of Maurice and Jaden, two innocent little boys, were heartlessly taken by the person who should have been loving them and protecting them, their mother. In the space of a few terrible moments, the promising futures of Maurice and Jaden were forever snuffed out. And this horrible crime shattered the lives of the boys' family and friends, who have all been robbed, as you've heard today, of the opportunities to celebrate Christmas, celebrate birthdays, and the joy of watching Jaden and Maurice grow up. And there are young children in this family that were particularly protected. You heard that some of them cry themselves to sleep at night with some of the young men's stuffed animals. They no longer have a beloved friend or playmate. Tiffany Lucas not only murdered Jaden and Maurice, but she forever scarred the lives of their family and friends, both adults and children. And I thank Ms. Baker for providing this. But as the victims all too well know, all that is left now are the memories and pictures of Jaden and Maurice. They are forever lost to their friends and family. And for this reason, the Commonwealth believes that the only just sentence that can be imposed is a sentence of life on each count of capital murder. Thank you.
There have been references made by the defense to the defendant's association with God while she was acting. This is not a question of violation of the laws of God or any religious belief. This is a question of violations of laws of this Commonwealth, particularly statutory murder, which provides for a violation when someone with the intent to cause the death of another person causes the death of that person. Ms. Lucas, to her credit, has come before the court and has admitted to her conduct. She has entered a plea of guilty to 2 counts of murder that involves the intentional taking of a life. Now, the court has considered mitigating conditions and aggravating circumstances as argued by the parties. The court has considered the contents of the file as well as recent filings that detail the defendant's position. The court will note that the defendant's act of killing were intentional and resulted in multiple deaths, in particular 2 children under 12 years of age. The law of this Commonwealth is clear. The statutory penalty for each of these counts is 20 to 50 years or life imprisonment. Mr. Donnelly has testified as to parole eligibility. Now, what I will say is this. Kentucky's method of incarceration for felony offenses is what's referred to as indeterminate sentencing. It can be somewhat difficult to follow if you don't deal with it every day. But ultimately, the court has to assume that the components of the judicial system, which includes the executive branch's parole board, will be followed to the law. So the duties and responsibilities of that board and what they do are to be determined by that board. This court has to assume they will do what is just and appropriate. What I have struggled with through this hearing today is a mother is more than the giving of life. It is providing food, clothing, shelter, but more importantly, love and security. I cannot imagine the sheer horror these children must have experienced seeing their mother with a gun. The sheer horror that second child had as he heard the discharge of that weapon for the first child. And maybe even both of them seeing their mother pull the trigger, taking their life. At this time, the court will state for the record, the court has considered the probation pre-sentence report, arguments of counsel, the contents of the file, and no sufficient reason having been shown why judgment not be pronounced and sentence imposed. In case number 23 CR 404, Commonwealth of Kentucky versus Tiffany Lucas, as to count 1, the court will adjudge the defendant guilty of the offense of murder and fix her sentence at life in prison. On count 2, the court will adjudge the defendant guilty of the offense of murder and fix her sentence at life in prison. This time, the court will order that the Sheriff's Department deliver the defendant to the custody of the Corrections Cabinet for service of her sentence of imprisonment. That's all for today. Court will be adjourned.